Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a pretty fascinating journey all the way back to 1910 to look at a text that makes a frankly audacious claim. It claims that wealth is a mathematical certainty. Yeah, literally. If you've ever wondered if getting rich is just, a matter of dumb luck, the right environment, or maybe sheer talent, well, the source material we're unpacking today argues the exact opposite. We're looking at a historic framework that treats financial success as a totally predictable, step-by-step formula.
Okay, let's dive into this. The foundational premise of this entire philosophy boldly states, and I quote, "Getting rich is the result of doing things in a certain way. Any man or woman who can do things in that way can become rich." So what he's doing here is stripping away all the mystique of wealth. He's telling us it isn't about being born in the right zip code or having some specific rare genius. Getting rich is, according to this text, an exact science.
And here it is. This is Wallace D. Wattles' classic 1910 book, The Science of Getting Rich. Fun fact for you, if the vibe of this sounds a little familiar, it's because this is the exact text that inspired that massive modern phenomenon, The Secret. But what makes this original book so uniquely captivating is how it actually operates. You see, Wallace took these highly abstract, esoteric concepts from philosophers like Descartes and Emerson, and he distilled them down into a concrete, no-nonsense formula. He basically said, look, don't worry about how the underlying universe works, just take these rules as hard facts and apply them.
To help us digest all of this, we've broken the core teachings into a clear roadmap. We're going to cover the wealth formula, the original substance, create, don't compete, the mental picture, acting in the present, and finally, the law of advancement. Now, we are going to start with some esoteric concepts, but I promise we will bring it right down to practical, everyday actions.
All right, Section 1, the wealth formula. I want you to start thinking about getting rich not as winning the lottery, but a lot more like learning basic arithmetic. Just addition and subtraction.
Wattles absolutely insists that getting rich is an exact science, completely independent of your environment or your natural talent. The text points out a really interesting observation. It says you can have two people living in the exact same town, working in the exact same business with the exact same level of talent, and yet one gets immensely wealthy and the other remains poor. Why? Well, because, according to Wattles, one is applying this scientific formula, doing things in that certain way, and the other simply isn't.
Moving on to Section 2, the original substance. If getting rich is an equation, we really need to understand the foundational constant in that equation, the invisible fabric of the universe.
Let's look at this definition carefully. The source, or original substance, is described as a formless, supremely intelligent substance that permeates literally everything in the universe. It fills the spaces between all things. But here is the critical mechanism. This substance responds directly to thoughts. When you impress a thought upon it, it triggers the actual process of creation. Now, I know that's a heavy metaphysical concept, but think of it this way. The source is inherently pro-life. It naturally flows toward anything that supports growth, creation, and advancement. So why does this matter to you? Because it implies your thoughts are literal tools for creation.
Okay, Section 3, create, don't compete. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the complete mental shift it demands.
Honestly, this comparison is the hinge the whole book swings on. Society constantly teaches us the competitive mind, right? The belief in scarcity. We're taught there's only so much pie to go around, so you've got to fight to get your slice at the expense of others, always looking over your shoulder, fearing someone will beat you to it. But Wattles argues for the creative mind, because the original substance is infinite, supply is infinite. You don't actually have to take from anyone. Instead, you flow with the tide, and you focus on creating new wealth so that everyone ends up with more.
Wattles brilliantly illustrates this concept using an analogy of trading with an Eskimo back in 1910. Think about it. If you sell them a famous $2 million painting, you haven't actually created true value, because it has zero practical use for them in their environment. But if you sell them a heater for, say, $200, the use value heavily outweighs the cash value. It's a massive upgrade. True wealth creation, according to the text, requires that in every single business transaction, you give more in use value than you take in cash value. That right there is how you add to the life of the world.
That brings us to Section 4, the mental picture. So we know the universe responds to thought, but how do we actually formulate those thoughts to trigger this creation process?
Well, here are the exact internal variables of the formula. Step 1, form a clear picture. Vague longings like, I want to be rich, do absolutely nothing for you. You need a sharp, vivid, highly detailed mental image of exactly what you want. Step 2, apply willpower to yourself to hold that focus. And Step 3, have unwavering faith and profound gratitude that it is already yours. Gratitude is what keeps you connected to that creative source.
So the crucial point is this. You must direct your willpower only at yourself. Wattles is absolutely adamant about this. You use willpower to discipline your own mind, to keep your attention locked on your clear mental picture, and to stop yourself from dwelling on poverty or negative circumstances. You must never, ever try to force, manipulate, or impose your will on other people to get what you want, because coercion is competition, focus is creation.
Moving right along to Section 5, acting in the present. Because, let's be real, sitting in an armchair just visualizing wealth isn't going to magically deposit money into your bank account. Physical action is the required bridge.
Wattles lays out these rapid-fire, highly practical rules for what he calls filling your present place. First up, act only in the present. Don't wait for some perfect future moment that might never come. Second, do all that you can do today. Every single day, make every small act a success. Third, do it without haste or worry. Actually, scratch that. Never hurry, because rushing comes from a fear of scarcity. Fourth, put 100% of your focus into whatever action you are taking right now. And finally, if you want the path of least resistance, start with a business that already fits your existing talents while you hold the vision for your ultimate goal.
And finally, Section 6, the law of advancement. This is the final piece of the formula, how personal growth naturally attracts wealth and opportunity.
And this brilliantly illustrates our final ultimate principle. Do everything that you do in the firm conviction that you are an advancing personality and that you are giving advancement to everybody. You see, the text argues that human beings have an innate, undeniable desire for advancement. When you more than fill your current role and when you genuinely project that you are growing and helping others grow, people are just naturally drawn to you. You become a literal center of increase. Customers, partners, and opportunities will flock to you because you're fundamentally adding to their lives.
Which leaves us with this final, powerful question to consider. Look closely at your own daily routines, your business transactions, and just the way you view the world. Are you trying to swim against the tide, competing, fighting for scraps, and acting out of a fear of scarcity? Or are you ready to flow with infinite supply and create with the source? Because according to a formula written over a century ago, your answer to that question mathematically determines your wealth. Thank you so much for joining me on The Explainer, and I will leave you to ponder that thought.